Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, good wherever you are. How's it going? This is Midnight's Edge. We're on the main channel today, talking about episode 5 of The Mandalorian, the Gunslinger. I'm, of course, your Supreme, Mr. Rob Rubash Shlomo. With me, as always, Mr. Tom Connors.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, or good night, whatever it is where you're at.
Yes, and joining us, since we're on the main channel, is the Master of Ceremonies, the boss man, Andre.
Greetings, everyone. And that greeting kind of works no matter what time of day it is, wherever you happen to be. So, yeah, greetings. Hail all. Hail one, hail all.
I believe we'll be joined by Mr. H Reviews very shortly. He's tied up with some other things, but he will be joining us nonetheless. So, we're going to be discussing bit of The Mandalorian, episode 5, The Gunslinger. This one directed by Dave Filoni. So who wants to kick this off? Tom.
Yeah, let's begin with you, Tom. Your thoughts on The Gunslinger.
This is the most boring episode we've had. The episode was okay. The story was okay. It felt like another filler episode. Frankly, the CGI was really bad when they were on the speeder bikes. I'm not sure where this show's going. It's like you're giving me just a bunch of crap that seems to be going nowhere now for the last couple episodes. Unless it's just me. I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was interesting to go back to Tatooine after the fall of the Empire just to see how different things are. I liked the whole stormtroopers helmets on pikes. Gives a very kind of medieval feel. And you know, it wasn't the best episode, but it started off fantastic though. With with Mandalorian being chased in a spaceship by another bounty hunter. So it just gives you the idea. It gives you the idea that there's people after him. There are still people after him. Yeah, dragged into places. It, like I said, it wasn't bad. I don't think it was the best episode, but I don't want to say I was satisfied, but it was serviceable. It was serviceable enough for me. Andre?
And that other guy's a shitty bounty hunter. Because he had 2 bounties he could have had if he just waited till they got back to Mos Eisley to enact his plan. But anyway, sorry, Andre, go ahead.
No, that's quite all right. I'm actually quite in the middle between both of you. I think that this episode is perfectly serviceable, but I also think that, like Tom said, it's pretty boring. Perhaps it's the most boring episode to date. What I kept thinking as I was watching this, right on the heels of last week's episode, which was also another filler episode, for lack of a better term. I was like thinking, okay, so this is an 8-episode season, and we already have 2 filler episodes in it, which just goes to show that the British have the right idea. Keep the seasons at 6 episodes. I mean that. At 6 episodes, you don't have filler. Everything drives the plot forwards. These last 2 episodes, they could easily have been combined into one, and you wouldn't have lost anything. And now, of course, I don't mind, like, more episodes provided that you have the story for it. But they don't. Or maybe they have the story, but they certainly chose not to show the story. In that sense, so yeah, I liked it overall, but it's a little bit filler for me. There was one other observation that I made in it, other than the whole thing about it being a little bit slow and everything, and that was the female that they were searching for, this other wannabe bounty hunter in The Mandalorian, who was played by Ming-Na Wen, the woman who doesn't age, because she looked exactly the same when she played Chun-Li in Street Fighter back in 1994. So,
She was on a sitcom back then too. That's where I remember her from, and she looks exactly the same. Jeez, what is she doing? Jeez, holy cow!
Exactly. But the point that I was making, though, is that
We have a special guest with us, by the way.
Oh, that umbrella guy. Welcome.
Hey there, how's it going?
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to get to your opinion. I just want to make this one point real quick first. That she is right now most known for Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So this is yet another Marvel alumni into this new iteration of Star Wars, which I think is really interesting. Just goes to show how more and more complete the Marvel takeover of Star Wars is getting to be as the new regime plants its flag. And with that said, the Umbrella Guy, what did you think about the episode?
I think it proves something that a lot of us said beforehand, that Disney doesn't have to make a good product. They just don't need to make an awful product, and we keep watching, you know? I feel like we keep getting strung along by nostalgia, and we keep getting strung along with the idea that this isn't completely awful. So I wonder what's going to happen next. I still felt like we had another filler episode. We had a lot of, like I said, we had a lot of nostalgic string along. I did wonder what the very end there was actually going to tie into, but I swear I can't take any more filler episodes.
Yeah, I think that's a sentiment we can all echo. So hopefully something is going to push the plot forward by
What has been your
episode.
What's been your favorite episode to this point, Tug?
Probably, well, I look at like 1 and 2 as the same episode, really. So, probably 3. And the reason for 3 is it's not just the episode, but it's what I was hoping would come after that. We had been in this rigid confine of the bounty hunting system. We had a central point that we always returned to, and then they would go out, I felt like we would basically like a video game. You go out, you do a little fetch quest, you come back to your main point. Well, they blew all of that away when at the end of episode 3. So episode 4, we had, I could see why we could have a filler episode with that. And I had hoped after that we could explore, some of this endless universe that's out there. I mean, that's the beauty of what they could be doing with it. But I feel like they have no idea what they're doing. So, episode 3. But again, I think the promise of what episode 3 should have brought to us, I think more than actual delivery on anything.
I'm not that well versed in the extended universe, but do you think one of the problems is when Disney pretty much put the kibosh on the extended universe? Do you think that is one of the problems they're running into? That Dave Filoni, I don't want to say this, I don't know for sure, but do you think there's some sort of mandate saying keep it in this box, and he has to work as best he can within that box?
I wonder what's I wonder what they plan with merchandising and everything else going forward. Like I knew for example where we were going to go with the last episode because I'd already seen the toys for it. I went to Barnes and Noble and saw the ATST and all of that. And I wonder how much of this decision making, them running in circles, are they planning with merchandising? And yeah, like you said, with the extended universe, how far do they want to go into merchandising? Are they afraid to go too far? I mean, I think there's a lot out there. I think when they did cut back on what we had before, though, yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid to go explore, and that's sad.
I have some thoughts on exactly why that is why that is happening. I think there's a very good reason for it. But I'll get back to that a little bit afterwards. Rob, before that, you were saying, can you repeat your question?
Oh, I was just saying about how there seems to be a problem, and this is the same problem actually with Star Trek as well. Is that you're taking a vast universe like Star Wars and you're shrinking it down, and you keep coming back to the same thing. And actually, it was Gary at Nerdrotic had said something similar, that The Mandalorian feels like a video game condensed into a TV series. go out, do your quest, come back, and
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I do love episode 3 and 4. I know a lot of people didn't like 4 as much, but we do got a $2.99 super chat from Scravage. Doesn't say anything, but thank you so much, Scravage, for your donation.
Yeah, thank you. About that issue that you're raising, I don't think that they've been asked to confine themselves to a specific thing. I think that the limitations that are there are relatively organic, because this story, The Mandalorian, is one that basically, from what I gather, John Favreau had written and conceived of before he even pitched it to Disney. So this is something that was conceived very much as what it was before it was greenlit. That at least is the official cover story.
Do you think part of it is that Favreau's trying to get like an old school television feel out of it? Because it does have, especially with the last episode of the Seven Samurai thing and this episode specifically, really feel like old school 70s, 80s kind of television.
I think that's coincidental. I think that if it seems like old school television, it's coincidental. I think that what he's trying to get out of this is old school movies. He's trying to get back to the spaghetti Western movies by Sergio Leone, many of which were remakes of the Kurosawa movies themselves. I think that's kind of what you're seeing. And that can remind you of the TV of the 70s. I'm not disputing that, but that's more of a coincidental thing. I think that he wants to get back to the movie making, which may remind you of the TV making. That I absolutely believe is deliberate, because if you look at the structure of the stories we've seen so far, by far and large, this is Lone Wolf and Cub, with some Seven Samurai and stuff like that thrown in there. And you also have like this overall Western theme to it. And most of the really great spaghetti Western movies, they were remakes of the samurai movies from Japan.
Well, right, and it's almost like a snake eating its own tail at this point. But I do get a lot of
this thing here.
Yeah,
it's like it's even called the Gunslinger. And of course, now today that's been like ruined by that horrible Stephen King movie, courtesy of Tom Rothman.
Well, you were going to say something, Tug.
I just, when you think about what a bounty hunter would be anyhow, I mean, the best way to relate that, to easily relate that is with a spaghetti Western feel. Because, I mean, we have the desolate unknown, I mean, think about the planets that we already know. We know the Tatooine set up. I mean, when you think about that bounty hunter, again, it's so easy to relate that. It's such an easy movie to make in a lot of ways. The idea of showdown and everything else, and it appeals to people. That's why the spaghetti Western did so well, for so long. And that's also why the samurai movie before that did so well. I would like to see the complexity of storyline actually come through. The character development. I mean, that's been one of my problems too with this, with not this episode, but the last episode. They took something with intricate characterization. If you're stealing the Seven Samurai, you can't boil that down into 15 minutes and try to put in a love interest like they did into that show and other stuff. You can't just shoehorn this stuff in.
Well, you can try. You'll fail. But you
fail. Try. Yeah, that's the thing. And I think we're seeing that again. I think the nostalgia or the glamour of what we thought would be a return to nostalgia is starting to wear off a little bit right now. You're hearing it in a lot of people. We're not asking for a show that doesn't suck. We're asking for a show that's actually good.
Well, the part of this that everyone's was pinning their hopes on this to save Star Wars. And that's it. And you know what? And I've said a lot of times, and this especially applies, and I've said this actually about the video game world, this especially applies to movies and television, books or whatever. It's just a law of averages. You're going to have far more stuff that is average to decent than it's going to be great to mind blowing. You do get that one mind blowing thing once every 5, 10, 15 years or whatever it is. but you're going to have more stuff that's just going to be average. And if the Mandalorian turns out just to be an average show, I mean, I really can't fault them for that. You know, they're doing their best. Like I said, this just turns out to be the one thing that's average. I could easily fault Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson, JJ, for making something that sucks because you had the tools to make something that was good. But you know, like I said,
I think that at this point, average is a step up.
Yeah, that's the problem we have, and we've said this all before, and I'm sure that umbrella guy will agree with me when I say this is probably the type of thing we should have got out the bat. Or out the door. We should have waited a little bit. They should have built up the trilogy. They should have made sure it was a nice, solid idea, filmed it all at once like Lord of the Rings, give us this and Obi-Wan in the meantime to tide us over, and it would have been perfect. You know, but no, instead they screwed it up, and now they're going back to the drawing board, which was basically the plan that George Lucas had to begin with. And that was do a Boba Fett movie, do a Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, and do a new trilogy. That was his original plan that he sent Kathy off to Disney with.
Well, don't make me do my Kathleen Kennedy impression.
No, please don't, because I don't like
it. She was not going to have any of that.
She scares me.
Yeah, for her, it was, you know, full steam ahead on the Amazing Wonder Ray. But fortunately, we do have Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. You know, I'm not saying they're the saviors, but they're going to be the ones to sort of shore up everything. And yeah, okay, you know what? I don't hate this, but it is not alone. It's going to be enough to save Star Wars. We're going to have this could very well pave the way for something better.
They needed something to kick off their freaking Disney Plus. I mean, they've done that. They've gotten interest. The problem is if they do not follow forward with something very soon, you know, audience, it's getting around that time where people have just had to actually start paying for this. If people, you know, before it was, you know, people got a week free, and then they paid the first time. They don't even notice it the first time. They're like, I'm so excited. Now they have to decide if they're going to pay again.
I paid for the year.
Let me just ask you, Tom,
I figured to hell with it.
Yeah, do you think it's a worthwhile investment? I mean,
no, but for us here, yes. I mean, if it was personal thing, no, because I have 90% of these movies. And Tug's right. They don't have anything coming up here in the near future that's going to really keep people around, I don't think. I mean, yeah, they're going to have, The Lion King and Aladdin coming up here, or if Aladdin's already on there, ain't it? If it's not, it's going to be soon.
Probably.
Yeah. You know, but what else are they going to have in the meantime to really entice people to stick around? 2 movies ain't going to do it. That Jeff Goldblum show to me is a bust. That Pixar show was stupid. What else do they have for newer stuff that's going to keep people around? I don't think they have anything, do they?
I don't know. Well, we have one of our people in the chat, and she's from the Netherlands, and she's saying she thinks a lot of the Dutch people in the test market, they didn't stick with Disney Plus.
Well, that's the thing is they've got they're actually doing what we predicted, and that is they're giving Netflix a run for their money right now.
Oh yeah.
The Mandalorian is by far the #1 digital show of the year. Easy, I bet.
Well, it's the biggest show in the world right now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's not like they're failing, but again, Tug's not wrong, and I've been thinking the same thing. What are they going to come up with? Because I don't think any of the Marvel shows start till spring, do they?
No, I don't. I think you're right.
I mean, you know, it's so easy to pull off the #1 show with this, with what we have here. I mean, if I told the kid in you Boba Fett series on TV, you know, when I heard it, I was like, wow, you know, but it spoke to that kid in me, the one that hasn't heard anything.
Well, I don't even have a Boba fetish, and I like this show. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I keep saying, what if the Mandalorian turns out to be a woman? Is it going to be Boba Fett? But anyway, but that's it.
Yeah, that's what I keep waiting for, that Metroid reveal. It's a female.
Samus, yeah. But
well, we got a decent female character 2 decent female characters actually, if you think about it, this episode. What's her face from S.H.I.E.L.D.?
We've only gotten decent female characters the entire show.
Yeah, so I don't know what the griping is about
this single. I have to say that for the record, that everyone who's complaining about SJWism in The Mandalorian, I could not disagree more. There is none of that.
No.
The female character who kicked his ass last episode, played by Gina Carano. Gina Carano would have kicked Pedro. What's his name? Pedro Pascal. Is that his name?
Yes.
Yes.
She would have kicked his ass from to here and back in reality as well. So I fully believe that. Absolutely no problems at all. Like, she's not some tiny little girl. It's freaking.
Well, not only that, they've
Carano.
kind of set up that he's just getting started. He's not like that. I mean, he's not green, but he's not that experienced. They kind of set that up, and she is. She's come from the wars. She's had plenty of experience. You know.
Well, the thing about that is, though, that a bounty hunter would have a different set of skills than a soldier. That's the other thing you have to consider. You know, fighting.
Well, and he got shot 2 or 3 times this episode too, as it is. Oh, yeah. He'd have been dead if it wasn't for his armor.
I like the armor. The armor's cool. Did Jango Fett wear that same armor, or
his looked like plastic?
Well, different color scheme, but
this is silver and blue.
But one of the, like I said, it's not full of, and I hate using the term SJW. It is not full of identity politics. And I tell you though, one pleasant surprise was Amy Sedaris, who played the technician in the hangar.
Yeah, I liked her character.
And Comedy Central's Strangers with Candy, I didn't even recognize her. I'm like,
oh, that's what she's from. Okay, I knew I recognized her.
Yeah, she was in Strangers with Candy. Yeah, years ago.
I really appreciated her also because she gave Mandalorian some reminders. This is a child. You can't just leave it alone.
Exactly.
However practical that may be for you. And that's obviously some lessons that he has to learn. I've been thinking for that. The dude may be 50 and we don't know how old he is and how smart he is and all of those things, or how much care and love and attention he needs. But it's probably going to be more than Mando is going to give him. So yeah, he could definitely use some pointers along the way there.
I like at first how she's just kind of like, okay. And you can tell she's like a little off guard, but then she's like, I'm gonna make some money off this baby. And then by the end of the episode, she's just like everybody else. She's fallen for the little brat. It's like, I'm waiting, Andre. I really do hope that he's like playing this up. I really hope he's like doing a Yoda on everybody and he's playing up the baby aspect. Yeah. And we do find out that he's a lot more smarter, because I even said he'd be about a 5-year-old in his age if you go by like dog years and Yoda years.
So we actually find out like he's young adult, he's plotting. That would actually be fun.
Well, at least 5. That's what I say, because that's about the age group he's at.
Mentally mature.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for him to go just to finally say something. I was waiting for him to say something this episode because there's a couple moments he probably could have, but.
Well,
anyway.
speaking of kids, it'd be interesting to find, because we're all older. Tug, I don't know how old you are, but I'm on the wrong side of 40, and Andre is probably approaching that. And Tom, you're also
fast approaching it. Sorry to say,
yeah. But it would be interesting to find out and what some younger viewers think about this show. I have a nephew who's maybe 14, 15, and I'll have to ask him, because I'm starting to wonder, I mean, how is this playing with a younger demographic? Because
I know with little kids it plays really well. I have a 6-year-old.
I didn't get to see South Park yet, but I know it was a big part of South Park this week. I haven't got to see it yet, but so it's crossing into the mainstream quite a bit. My kids even talk to me about it. My kid don't watch shit.
Things out there. I mean, if you go out and you look up Mandalorian, it continually trends on social media, which means it has nerd culture behind it. It has all of that. It has all of us there, but it has to have some normie presence as well.
Of course it does. Like, a series doesn't get to be the biggest show in the world, which again, I only read that it is. I don't know the truth behind that, but I don't really disbelieve that when you just look at the historical significance of Star Wars, and this then is another chance at it. And everyone knows. Just look at how the conversation surrounding Star Wars has changed the last few months. Like, how much hype is there for Episode 9? The movie's coming out in what, 2 weeks,
Oh God.
and I haven't heard one freaking person in my life around me, not one, have expressed any kind of excitement for
dude,
it
I'm excited.
whatsoever.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
You're looking
I brought it
forward
for
to
all the
seeing
wrong
your
reasons.
train wreck.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm excited to see if it crashes and burns.
Oh
I
man,
mean,
yeah. I mean, I want to sit down. I've got a lot of hype. I have not been this excited about a Star Wars film in a little while, but it's for all the wrong reasons.
I was in Walmart the other day and I took a look at the Star Wars section. Well, first of all, there's no Mandalorian merchandise, but that it's not ready. I don't know when's the Mandalorian merchandise.
I ordered Baby Yoda, the 11-inch one. It is available in April, and you, Rob, and Mecca, and a few other people are getting a Funko Pop Yoda. I don't know if I can send you one yet, Andre. Those are coming in May.
Tom, thank you. I will say that I went to, like I said, the toy aisle, tons of Marvel stuff. You know, they had a pretty decent selection of Ninja Turtle stuff, to Hot Wheels. I mean,
There's some good Ninja Turtle stuff this year.
Oh yeah,
I'm a fan, so
maybe about 3 feet wide of Star Wars merchandise, consisting of lightsabers, some Rey figures, some Jawas, a Poe Dameron figure, a Luke X-Wing figure, and really that was about it. And some unsold Reys, some unsold Rey Black series. I mean, it is pathetic now. The interest level of that Star Wars garners has been so diminished.
They better, one thing, going back to Mandalorian real quick, they better bring that damn IG-11 back, because that was what I was excited about with the whole series. I was like, an IG, yes, I want that,
They actually did have toys for that, and I believe the Mandalorian, but they weren't. I can't understand how they weren't prepared for this.
Oh, I can totally understand it. And I'll explain. Again, this is not something that I know. I'm just applying common sense to the situation, because he's within Lucasfilm right now. There's something of a civil war going on, and there's 2 factions. There's the Kennedy faction, and there's the Lucas film faction. The Lucas faction is the bigger faction in terms of numbers, but the Kennedy faction is the more influential, because they are the ones, certainly by Kennedy, that formally have all the power, and they don't want the Mandalorian. They're not happy about it. It's not one of theirs. Mm-hmm. It's the new regime that's making that one. So I think there's 2 sides to it. One is that, again, I don't know this, I just think that Kennedy and her faction will have blocked any idea of the Mandalorian merchandise, because that's going to compete with their own Episode 9 merchandise.
But they had Wait, 1
second. Just imagine how embarrassing that would be for them. If you have reports now for Christmas, you'd have reports really, really soon.
It's 77 all over again.
Merchandise outsells Episode 9 merchandise. How freaking embarrassing would that be?
I think their partner organizations fear as well. I mean, when you look at Hasbro is panicking. If you read what they're saying, they have come out and they pretty much said that Toys R Us was killed by this kind of stuff. Hasbro said we have to have Frozen 2 merchandise sell, and we have to have Rise of Skywalker merchandise sell. So I wonder, with that as well, there's this chance. It's just like an unknown commodity. When Frozen came up, for example, they talk about all the stuff that came out with Frozen 2. When Frozen came up, it caught everybody off guard. Well,
Disney.
Same thing with the Mandalorian, I think.
Well, speaking to what Andre said before, I have heard of. There's been warring factions. There's warring factions within corporations all the time. The Ford Motor Company in America, for years, would not sell one particular model because it was designed in Germany and it would embarrass the American engineers. So that kind of stuff is familiar. But at the same time, somebody has to be the adult in the room, Bob Iger, if you're listening, and say, you know what, shut up. This is for everybody benefit. Everybody wins when something with Star Wars on it is popular.
Let me address that too. Because all this means is that the Mandalorian merchandise is going to come later, because that's another thing that you have the civil war going on within Lucasfilm. At the same time, Iger doesn't want more reports of failing merchandise sales, especially on top of the Episode 9 merchandise, because then they're just going to be accused of flooding the market now before Christmas with both Episode 9 merchandise and the Mandalorian merchandise. Of course, if that worked, that would be all feathers in the hat for everyone and great, everything's well, yada, yada, yada. But if it fails, it's going to reflect poorly on him too. So then it's really, really easy for him to say, okay, let's hold off on the Mandalorian merchandise for a while. And then we can always argue in public that right now we're going to focus on the big tentpole, which is Episode 9. And then after that, around May and stuff, that's when we're going to get like the Mandalorian merchandise in time for Season 2. And by then, that's going to be the Star Wars. That will be the Star Wars ruled by the new regime. That they can do a bigger push, because the previous regime will, for all intents and purposes, be out the door anyway.
Well, I know they already got the droid out there, and I know they have like 2 or 3 Mandalorian figures. So that's where I'm confused.
You see, there's some. Again, they're just not gonna flood the toy stores with the thing to compete with the Episode 9 toys, because one, that's gonna embarrass Kathleen Kennedy, and is really gonna embarrass them if it ends up outselling Episode 9.
It probably
that's
already
not gonna reflect good on anyone.
Well, Captain here sent us $5. He says Episode 9 is gonna have merchandise with a question mark, obviously. Where can I watch this money burn and get you? Can you get it on stream? Here's the funny thing: on Black Friday, Thursday night actually, I went to 3 different Walmarts. The one Walmart only had one end cap of new Star Wars stuff, and it was the plushies, that stupid mystery tin they've got everywhere, a few of the new Funko Pop exclusives, and a couple of figures. The one store, all they had were Luke Skywalker figures, and that was it. The other store, all they had was a bunch of those new ones that are those cartoon-looking ones. Rob, I know you know the ones I'm talking about because you guys.
Oh, the Galaxies of Adventure. Yeah.
Otherwise, they didn't have jack squat. They had this big like cardboard thing, and it was like just this one small section of Star Wars stuff.
Well,
that's all they had.
The other thing too we have to consider is that maybe the stores just aren't buying them because they took a bath on the last movie.
Well, I know that's for a fact, and we know that's why their sections are smaller. But I mean, it's like they don't care.
We make more money on selling Marvel shit. I mean, let's load up on that. Like I said, just compared to the Star Wars displays, the Marvel displays are head and shoulders above that. I mean, I saw a freaking Beta Ray Bill figure, and they're legends. Of
course, all the cool kids play with Marvel.
Exactly. Exactly. But I was just like, I took some video of that. I probably should take it off my phone and we could put it on after dark. But at the same time, but it's a testament to how badly this brand has been mismanaged, and the Mandalorian alone is not going to be enough to save it.
Well, and I'm reading Anthony Daniels, or well, I should say, listening to Anthony Daniels' book right now because he actually reads it, which is nice. And it has been pretty boring and dull up till we get to the sequels. Now there was some interesting stuff in the prequels, but it really gets juicy in the sequels because it almost confirms a lot of the stuff that we've reported and talked about and speculated on as far as like how things work behind the scenes. Like basically you get this idea that it's a very cold environment now, very difficult to work with people. JJ didn't listen to really a lot of any of the actors' suggestions. Ryan made it a very comfortable environment, so that's probably why it worked so well with him. And he didn't really get into Rogue One because he's only got like one scene in Rogue One. But again, it just still paints this like picture of when it moved to Disney, it got really cold and distant from what Star Wars really was. And it goes with the stories we've heard from Mark Hamill. And it goes, yeah, he even talks about how upset Mark Hamill was after the first script read. I guess him and Carrie were devastated, he said.
Yeah, because George pretty much treated it like they were family. And now you're moving to a cold corporation. I don't know who said this, but you have a soulless corporation now that's trying to breathe life into these characters, and it's not possible. And all Disney was ever concerned was treating this as a film as product enterprise. Just crank it out like they're making canned soup or televisions or Volkswagens or whatever it was.
That's the problem with all their products, though. I mean, that ultimately is their problem. That's why comic books as a medium, they're actually dying off. It's everything that these companies touch. Yeah, that and so many of the things that we've been attached to nostalgically, they have been picked up by they're either picked up by these companies or there's some type of ripple effect that hits them. I mean, with Star Wars, we actually have that directly added on, but I mean. Comic books as a whole or toys as a whole, there's a ripple effect. If these companies at the top, like a Disney, if they screw up with Star Wars, Toys R Us dies. If they screw up with Marvel brands, well, other companies die. I mean, you see this stuff, and they keep making the same mistakes. I wish that there was some kind of option, like another company, to pick this stuff up, but because ultimately, every complaint we run into, ultimately, every complaint we run into, everything we circle back to, it's always the problem with Disney.
Well, and I think Kathy's the one most to blame. But what were you going to say, Andre?
Yeah, no, but I was just going to say, speaking of other companies, we got a super chat from Motolicious sending $2 saying Hasbro needs to get back to G.I. Joe. I'll buy. They will. Because you have at least one solo movie, which I think is going to be like G.I. Joe's Bumblebee. What's Storm Shadow? Was that it? I don't know.
Snake Eyes, but they're
Eyes. Yeah, sorry. Well, yeah, one of the two.
But they're already starting to load it with identity politics. They made sure they went out of their way to cast an Asian actor, the guy from Crazy Rich Asians. I'm like, you're going to cast an Asian guy as the big problem was, we can't have a white guy as a ninja. Like, okay, so you're going to cast an Asian as a ninja? Yeah, way to reinforce stereotype of Japanese people and martial arts guys. Way to think that one through.
Well, that's not appropriating culture, isn't it? I think that's probably Trump's stereotype.
You can only culturally appropriate something if you're a white woman. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam Wolford also sent us $5. I show my mom The Mandalorian first 3 episodes, and she liked him, but didn't care much for Baby Yoda. She calls it fists full of dollars in space. Oh, yeah, it's definitely got the spaghetti western feel, like Andre was saying, but there's just bits and parts, and even some people in the chat were saying, it has a kung fu type feel. To me, it just feels like one of those shows that you used to watch when I was a kid in our age group during the summer that would rerun, that was like a 70s or an 80s, Western type show, to where you have this weekly thing going on and there is an overarching story, but and the same thing that's the problem, is the last few episodes I was getting to is like they feel so far distant from what the actual storyline. And I get it, he's on the run, and that's maybe another aspect of as to why it feels like one of those shows, because that was always kind of a thing with like the Hulk and a few other shows of that era where your main character was on the run, so that would put him in a different set of circumstances every week. There was a couple shows that had that motif.
You know what I liked about the first few episodes? We were actually talking about a show again. We were debating the minutia of Star Wars, and I've enjoyed that. I wish Disney would give us more of that, so we can just return to that. We don't, because we can see the shadow of identity politics that could possibly pop in. We don't trust these people, and for just that little sliver of time, it almost felt like hope.
Right. Geeky Candy also sends us $5, a good friend of the channel, and she's on Toxic Femininity every Sunday at 9 with us. Hill, it's one of my favorite roundtables on YouTube. Headed home today. Miss you guys. That's right. She's traveling, so hopefully she'll have safe travels getting home today. She was hanging out with Drunk 3PO at Universal yesterday. That was kind of fun. I was watching that.
Cool. Awesome. Hope you had a great vacation, Candy. Universal Studios. Oh, that was pretty awesome. I was there last year.
I've never been there.
I always say drunk 3PO only exists to make the rest of us look bad. I
Yes.
mean, the guy is a philanthropist. He's got a lot of charity work and.
But no, yeah, Tug's right. Like Jeremy, I think was the first one to bring it up, but I'm sure he wasn't the first one to think of it. But yeah, this is the best part about this whole thing is we're actually debating Star Wars for once, whether or not you're pro or anti Baby Yoda, or you have this issue or that issue with the show. People are talking about the show and not what's going on behind it, and not the politics behind it, not, it's good. There's a few people who are trying, I would say, probably projecting a lot of identity politics onto the show. Well, I don't see it as hardcore as some people do. I don't get it. So.
Well, there's a few people that are angry that there's not more identity politics in it. So that's.
I think some of it's distrust. Like I know some of the people that have been saying some of us, more I guess angry claims or more outlandish claims, and I understand why they see it that way because. Again, we've not just adjusted our lens for looking for problems there, but we've kind of gotten used to looking through these people's lenses and how they see the world. I mean, we've had an incredible run with Star Wars as far as crazy is concerned.
I like that as far as crazy is
not
concerned.
over.
But speaking of Anthony Daniels' book, or Anthony Daniels as he likes to be referred to as, he even says he praises Dave Filoni to no end in that book. So I really feel like there's a reason for that. I don't know if I'm overlooking that, Andre, but I don't know if you know what I'm getting at there. But yeah, I don't know.
No, absolutely. I think that's probably.
I think he knows who his new boss is going to be because Kathleen Kennedy painted in a very cold light.
Yeah. This does not surprise me, and you already see people are like sucking up to who they know is going to be the new regime. It's going to be Favreau and it's going to be Filoni, two of them together. So yeah, that's what I think. That everyone recognizes that Kennedy, she's just there for the duration of her current contract, and she's going to be out of power long before then.
She's JJ's secretary in the book. The first time,
really,
Anthony Daniels talks to Kathleen Kennedy and JJ, she calls him first. She goes, "Hi, this is Kathleen Kennedy. JJ Abrams would like to talk to you." That is what a secretary does.
Oh my God!
And he's like, "Okay." And then he comes on the phone and he says he fanboys for like 10 minutes, and then he's finally like, "Well, what did you need?" He's like, "Well, will you be in my next movie? I'm making the next Star Wars."
Well, hey, there's your most powerful woman in Hollywood. She's a glorified secretary.
Glorified secretary. Mr. H Reviews, welcome to the show, friend.
What's happening, bros? How's it going?
What's going on?
Welcome, Mr. H. Glad to have you back again.
Yeah, good to be back. I took a brief hiatus, didn't I, for last week?
Yeah. Would you like to tell us about that hiatus?
Hey?
Would you like to tell us about that hiatus, or shall we save that for a later occasion?
No, I mean, I can say it if anyone is actually...
I know you. I think you shared a few pictures, didn't you?
Yeah, so yeah, I was... well, originally I was just actually going to go up to kind of basically just be on a set of a film. But just so happens that I got roped into being in the film. So on my Twitter, there's a whole bunch of images of me in prosthesis, bunch of prosthetic makeup.
I've seen, you're pretty bloody.
Yeah, well, but I tell you what, so honestly, I got some great people that follow me over on Twitter, and a bunch of people were like, because obviously I kind of, I tried to dupe people, and there's a bunch of people that were like, I'm so, I hope you're all right. Oh my God, message me, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. But so obviously, the makeup was pretty good. But
to those that haven't seen the picture, basically it looked like Mr. H had been in the nasty end of a motorcycle accident or something.
Yeah, it was like almost Freddy Krueger, wasn't it? I guess.
Gory.
That was my first thought.
Yeah, but basically, so I got roped into being in this film. I'm in a good couple of scenes, but these things can just end up on the cutting room floor. But I don't think it will. And I'm kind of friendly with the director, so I'm sure he would tell me if it so happens that I am cut out. But that's why I wasn't here last week. So apologies for that. But yeah, I'm here now. Where are we at with talking about Mando?
Well, as usual, we spoke a little bit about the Mando in the beginning, and then we lost track and started talking about everything else.
But we should introduce.
Carry on.
We should introduce that umbrella guy to Mr. H before we go.
Hey,
too
Mr.
far.
H, how's it going, man? I always actually I subscribe to your channel. I like your Alien Covenant content from back.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, I've been around. For a long
I'm guessing
time.
you're a riff on Resident Evil.
Oh yeah,
Umbrella Corp, right?
No, never, because I have.
Never. Oh, right.
So I could never do that. No.
That's awesome. With the introductions out of the way, Mr. H, tell us, what did you think about not just this episode, but last week's episode too?
Right. Well, okay. So I think I'm probably, and you don't leave these live streams up, do you?
Yeah, we do.
I haven't been able to find them because I tried to find them last week.
You have to go to the Roundtable's playlist. That's where they are.
Okay, all right. Because I did try to find last week because I thought I would probably be in the minority. I actually really enjoyed last week's, and a lot of people didn't seem to.
I did too.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go then. Well, I quite liked it, and a lot of people. I know from my own audience, there were some people still calling it woke and things like this, for the simple fact that one woman knew how to shoot. Which, come on, lose your pee dick, mate. Seriously.
That's the point that we made.
Well,
There's nothing woke about it.
Seriously, there wasn't, and a lot of people are even questioning Gina Carano. It's like, mate, she could beat the living shit out of you all.
Exactly.
So, like, let's be honest here. Like, when a woman is actually strong in real life, it's not really woke, is it, to hire her? Let's be honest. And so I really enjoyed last week's episode a lot more than I thought I would, and I think that paired with this week's episode, we're really starting to see like what the purpose is of the Yoda baby. It's the humanizing aspect of Mandalorian completely. Like, everyone likes Mandalorian as a result of the baby. When he's not around, people don't like Mando. Case in point, the woman who's looking after the port, and once she sees the baby, she softens up to Mandalorian and even lets him off a little bit of money here and there and things like that. And I think it's very much a humanizing aspect to the character, and I think they'll probably go hand in hand. I mean, it is a trope, hard character, cutie character. They humanize one another and they become better along the road, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I genuinely can't say anything better about it, to be honest. I think it's fantastic.
That I will say, though, Mr. H, in your absence, the trend has continued that you and I, the non-Star Wars fans in the panel, are the biggest fans of the show.
Oh dear,
although in the defense of the others, they're really coming around.
Well, like I was like last week's show, I felt like I was defending more. I feel like, and I don't want to say it like condescending to anybody, I feel like some people just kind of doubled down on the SJW thing because they didn't realize it was a homage to Seven Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
I think that some people just didn't want to like back off and go, oh well, I didn't realize that. And then
I think there's another reason for it.
There's possibly. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think
now that I pissed everybody off.
I'm going to piss off people much more. I don't hold it against those that see SJW everywhere because mostly it's true, and that's why you get that response. Because for years now, our entertainment has been screaming at us. If you're a white man, you are fucking evil and you need to be put down in your place. That's kind of like what all entertainment has been saying to us. And some people then are going to see that even when it isn't there. Because most of the time it's going to be there. But it wasn't there in last week's episode. That was Gina Carano, and she's going to kick the ass out of every man, unless it's a man with the same body mass and similar training as her. Then she's going to get her ass kicked. But every other man than that, she's going to kick their ass.
Yeah, except for Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I would never hit a woman, so it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Well, she'd probably kick his ass. Well, no,
no, not ever.
He's bigger than her. Yeah, no, she wouldn't.
No,
He has way too much body mass.
She might now, but
But it's not even that either. Like I've got a video. This goes hand in hand, so I'm not sidelining it too much. I'm kind of just adding to it. Like I've got a video coming out. I don't know, around midnight or some shit like that, and it's about the tracking of the rise of Skywalker, and there have been some people that have been trying to put a spin on it to say that everyone's a shill for saying that it's tracking well. You're not all fucking idiots, ladies and gents. You know that the rise of Skywalker is going to do very well, right? You don't have to be a shill to realize that.
Of course it is.
You're an idiot if you try to deny it, right? I don't care what you say or who says it. You're an idiot if you think it's shills that are saying that it's going to do well, because it is going to do well, ladies and gents. And it's not to say that it deserves to do well, but it will do very, very well. And it's the fact that those people that are like, oh, it's the shill media, it's the shill this, and it's the SJW that, and it's the feminist that, they're doubling down on it because they have a massively blinkered bias, and they absolutely thrive off of the hatred of it. Like, call a spade and a cat. But at the end of the day, you know, to say that the film is going to track very, very well is not being a shill. You know, it takes like 2 brain cells to figure out that the biggest franchise on the planet and the final saga in that franchise on the planet will do very, very well, right? It's like 2 brain cells. And it's the same with this Mandalorian business. Is these people are they thrive off of the hatred for it, and so they double down on it time and time again. So much so that they can't. They're held so accountable by, you know, and again, these people do create shows as well on YouTube. So they're held so accountable by the people that watch their channel to hate something that they hate it regardless. So it's kind of an expansion on what you're saying, but you know, that's what
I do think there is an
anyway.
aspect of truth to that. I don't think you're wrong there, and we've seen it ourselves in our own community. But at the same time, I do feel like a lot of people don't pause to think, wait a minute, this is not the same regime we had before. And that's one thing, the drum that Andre and I keep beating over and over again to remind people that, yeah, even though Kathleen Kennedy's still there, this is not the same people making the show that have been making the stuff so far. And, you know, it's Marvel people, it's Dave Filoni, it's...
Oh, did anyone talk about the fact that Dave Filoni directed this one?
Yeah,
as well as the first?
You can go ahead and comment on it if you wanted to.
Well, it's just the fact that it was definitely, you can see his directing style. The swipeaways were there again, just like they were in the first one. Right,
I hated the snow, the sand in the bike scenes looked so fake though, and the flying on the bikes looked bad.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I did like the shot with the Mando on the dewback or whatever it was, because it was like that reminiscent of that one still of the Desert Trooper or whatever from the original Star Wars movie that's in like every book where he's riding it. It's just that same angle and everything. Yeah, he's improved as a director this time out. I'll give him that. But this was not one of my favorite episodes. I did enjoy last week's episode much more than most people did, though. This one I felt was really filler and boring for the most part.
I think, you know, when you're talking about that scene, though, I think we've gotten spoiled in the fact that this is a TV show. And a lot of us said,
true.
That first one, man, I mean, when you look, like I said, IG-11, you look at that stuff looked amazing.
There is some amazing stuff. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, the few nitpicky things I do bring up here and there. But I mean, Baby Yoda looks amazing. That's a puppet though, 90% of the time too. So
yeah, they've expanded upon the Baby Yoda business, haven't they? They've been saying that the even for the elements of CG, they're trying to retain the physics of a puppet. So as he's the elements of CG, they're not doing anything that they wouldn't be able to do, or they're not doing anything outside of what they're able to do with puppetry, which is quite smart, I think. Which is why it is blending a little bit more seamlessly.
Well, there's a whole thing I always say about, and Tom's a big fan of the Muppets, and I'm a big fan of the Muppets, and I always say the thing about, CG, it lets you do certain things, but the whole thing about a puppet, or it's an actual 3D thing. People have to interact with it, and there's just something much more genuine when you have someone playing out all that with a puppet. I mean, it's not just, you're not just interacting with a piece of felt, you know, with someone's hand up its ass. You know, you react. People put emotion behind it. There's inflection there. which actually gives it more believability.
Well, that goes back to E.T. Even Spielberg said that people would come on the set and they would treat. He was guilty of directing E.T. instead of the puppeteers sometimes. Same thing with Yoda on the original Empire Strikes Back. Kirsch would always get caught talking to the puppet, and Frank Oz be like, "I'm down here," you know. We got a quick super chat. I don't think did we grab this one yet? Adam Wolford, $5. G.I. Joe's Snake Eyes movie. They turning Snake Eyes from white man to Asian man, also making some Asian characters into black. I know Rob covered a little bit of that before. I don't think we got the super chat, though.
We'll probably talk about that closer to release.
Well, and we got After Dark after this show too at some point. So
yeah. I'm sure we'll get into plenty G.I. Joe later. I'm sure you have much more to say about that than I do. Although I have a little bit. But we'll deal with that in due time. Anyway, thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, I went on some long spiel there, but no, one thing I do going back to Anthony Daniels' book is he said that was the one positive that I did get out of the whole, new way of doing things was he's like, it was nice to not be on a blue or green screen, because that's all it was by the end of the prequels. And he even points out how George would even say he wanted to do stuff digital that he didn't have to, and there was a joke, people were joking about it by the end of the third film because he'd do it constantly.
Well, that wasn't necessarily just George either. That came at a time when like people just CG'd because they could. It's not that they should, but it's because they could. And it was everywhere. It was prevalent all over the place. There's so many shit films which could have been so much better.
Well, it was like two examples he used was one scene where R2 didn't go far enough down into the thing that he wanted it to. So he's like, "Oh, we'll just do it in post." And the guy's like, "I can move him down. It just take me a few minutes, George." And they all laughed about it. And that's where it got to the point where by the end it was so bad because the last time that he talked about it, he's like, there was a scene where they just wanted 3PO to switch his seat. And George was like, "I'll just fix it in post." And he's like, I can get up and move to the other seat, George. It's like he was getting that bad by the end, I guess, to where it was just like everything, he just fix it in post. And it was like, we're actors, we can move, It's like,
yeah, that's ridiculous.
No. From his point of view, they weren't actors. They were just
and he's been accused of that since
to
the
make
beginning,
the CGI work.
And that was one thing that he did say about the first few movies is that he felt like he was treated like a prop, even by George and everybody. So, but I mean, it's the same thing with like even Harrison Ford accused him of the same thing too. So nobody said he was a very warm gentleman. So, but anyway, enough George. But other than him showing up on this, what are we looking forward to in the rest of the show? Here we are, over halfway through. We've got 3 episodes left now? I think it is, right?
Yeah, they moved one up, haven't they, for the release of The Rise of Skywalker.
So they're not saving one for after that.
I think so. Yeah, but they brought one. They brought one up.
Something.
They did do something with that.
I'd introduce you all to my Emperor voice. Fuck it, why not?
Yeah. Oh, better you than me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. No, but I'll say what I look forward to in the rest of the series. To see what the hell is going to happen. That is one thing that I will give this series massive credit for. Many other series, you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Not in this series. I literally have no clue what's going to happen next episode, the one after that, the one after that. I have no idea where they're going. That is something relatively rare. I have literally no idea. I think it's going to be something that might as well have been on some episode in the entirety of the canon of Star Trek. But more specific than that, I really cannot say. And that is a credit to the show, that there is a level of unpredictability to it. Because look at it from the Mandalorian's point of view. What did he do? He basically developed a conscience and decided that I cannot let them kill this baby, and he took it and he took off. Did he have a plan further than that? So he knows that, yeah, okay, fine, I took this baby. I am now a traitor to the guild, and everyone who's a bounty or even can become a bounty. They're now looking all over for me. Okay, great. Now what the hell do I do? That's kind of like the premise of the series. It's like, what does he do next? And it's as unpredictable to us as it is to him. I like that aspect of the show. That's what I look forward to the most, to see what are they going to do.
Yeah, the stories that they're managing to do here is very, very smart, because obviously it's going somewhere, but it's not blatantly obvious. And obviously each story each week is just an adventure of the week sort of thing, which I love. There's something quite touching about that. And obviously it is going somewhere, but because it's an adventure of the week scenario, we've got utterly no idea. It's fantastic.
Exactly.
Really, really, really good. Really good.
Tug?
I've got a baby yelling. I'm muted.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll come back to you. No problem. Rob, what are you looking forward to most, or what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, well, I want to see where it goes. I'm like, despite where I think it's going to go, if it's the fact now that you've had me invested in this character, in both these characters, makes me say, okay, you know what? I want to see more. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Doesn't quite make up for the last 2 years, but okay, I'd be willing to see.
Different regime.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So they have a long. They're trying to repair that bridge. They got a ways to go, but like I said, I'm interested. I'm interested.
Oh, well, at least you're interested now. At least, we're getting somewhere.
Well, and again, like I started out like Rob too, and I still have that little bit, a little bit of fear in the back of my mind that something could go wrong with this real quick, real fast. But I trust Favreau. I trust Filoni to a point. You can almost say that there's this air of, if something does go very wrong with this show, they could probably point fingers at certain people anyway. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think we're going to, as far as what's going to happen, I don't think we're going to get any straight answers by the end of this series. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people who are going to treat this like they did Empire. And what I mean by that is that revisionist history, that if you read an article everywhere now, everybody hated Empire when it came out. That is not true.
Yes.
That is the farthest thing from the truth. What the problem was is, at that point, you didn't have the internet, and you didn't have a bunch of people that knew there was going to be a third film. And you left this one on a cliffhanger. So by the time that happened, those who knew that there was another movie coming knew they had 3 years to wait. The rest of the audience was just like, what the fuck? It's like, you can't end a movie like that.
Let me tell you, people say, oh, everybody hated Empire. No, they didn't. You know why? Because I was there.
Exactly. Yeah. And
well, everybody equaled critics back then. It's just like everybody hated the thing. It's like,
well, even critics enjoyed Empire, but again, some didn't. But like Rob and I have always said, it was this fact that you got left on a cliffhanger. People weren't used to that aspect. We didn't live in the age and day nowadays where if you see an end credits scene, you're going to get a sequel. We didn't have that back then. Very rarely did you have that. You got it once in a while with the pretentious stuff like Masters of the Universe, but we see how well that worked out, right? So it wasn't a normal thing to just expect a sequel back in the day. Even the original Back to the Future didn't have to be continued on it until the video. So, but we do have a couple super chats we want to probably address real quick here.
Yeah, we do. J Money J sent us $9.99. Thank you so much. Asking, do any of you believe Rise of Skywalker will reach over $1 billion in the box office, or do you think it will underperform in the box office just like the Solo movie?
It's gonna do well. Is it gonna underperform? Yeah, they're gonna, but they're definitely gonna make $1 billion at least, probably. The opening weekend keeps going down though. It started at 220 and now it's down between 200 and 275. So
yeah, but they're just predictions. It doesn't mean anything. No. It literally doesn't mean anything.
I think it's gonna do 1.1.
It's gonna do less than The Last Jedi.
Yeah. If it's under $1 billion, then I think it's a major red flag.
I think it depends on reviews. I mean, really, reviews. If you watch any movie these days, you watch that opener, and then right after that, it depends on how. If the reviews are even mediocre about this movie, then it'll take off. But I mean, if reviews are terrible, you
I don't
never know.
think Tug's wrong. I think that's what tanked Solo. I really do. Between that and just there was at least a large group of
people were pissed off with the
actively
last.
said they were going to go. Yeah,
there were more things going into Solo flopping,
and there was a lot of negative press as well.
That was a perfect storm of everything.
Oh yeah,
a good indication of whether a movie will do well. And a lot of people will probably disagree with this, but I read a fantastic article on it, and I really do believe it. It's just an indication, so it's not a given, but a really good indication is actually the viewpoints across the trailers and things like that over on YouTube and various social medias, because it's indicative of hype, isn't it? People are viewing it because they're interested, and the viewership for the trailers themselves are still actually really, really high. So I don't doubt that it will do really well. I mean, you got to think like the tracking for the opening weekend is like about 200 million, right? And that's just domestic. That's still going to be opening up everywhere else. That is only domestic. People seem to forget this all the time. A lot of guys in the States, apologies, do seem to forget that, when we talk about that figure, that's only one market. It's still opening up everywhere else.
Oh yeah, no, the thing we do remind people,
you got to think, right? If it does 200 million in the States and it does 200 million in China, well, it's almost made its production budget back, hasn't it already?
It's not going to make 200 million in China though.
No. It's just an example. It's only an example.
It should do about 200 or 300 million overall worldwide, besides the U.S.
But that's my point. That's my point. Is when we talk about these numbers. People do seem to forget that the tracking, the prediction, is only the States.
Yeah,
we don't get the tracking for everywhere else. No. So when people are like, "Oh, it's only 200 million," yeah, it's fine. It's not the rest of the world. And again, I'm not defending the movie because I think it's probably going to be balls, the biggest pile of donkey balls ever, right? And I've gone on record and said that many, many times. But it will still make good money. But it will still make good money.
The one thing we try to remind everybody, though, is overseas, they don't, depending on what market it's in, what deals they have with certain markets, they don't always see that amount come back. Because we remind everybody as far as China, they get like 20% back usually.
I would imagine Disney have some fairly good deals with China.
All with China.
Yeah, you got to remember Disney changed one of the, I think it was either one of the Iron Man movies or one of the Avengers movies. They filmed a brand new ending just for the Chinese market. So they do take bank from China more so than any other studio.
Well, usually that comes into investment part of it too, and that's one thing that we see a lot of. It's more about the investors.
That had an extended Chinese version. You have like some of the same scenes in the rest of the world version as well. It was like the two heart surgeons, which are introduced at the New Year's party in the beginning, and that also operated his heart and fixed him towards the end. There was a whole plot involving them that was cut from the non-Chinese markets of that movie. So yeah, Marvel, or rather Disney as a whole, they have a particular deal with China. Of course, that doesn't help them because the Chinese don't like Star Wars. So they're not going to go see this movie. It'll open there, but it'll earn peanuts there compared to Marvel movies. That's neither here nor there. In terms of how Rise of Skywalker, or the definite fall of Skywalker, which is what it probably should be called, is going to perform, I think it's going to open big for any movie. I think it's going to be approaching 200 million, but I don't think it's going to cross, well, maybe, just because of the interest. Just look at all the interest is there.
Yeah, it's definitely interest.
It's going to open massive.
And you also got to remember the time of year, right? It's kids as well, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we're of a certain age bracket. We do seem to forget that, once we've got a bit of wrinkles and grey hair, you know, I'm speaking for myself here. I do apologise. You know, I don't want to paint everyone with the age brush. But we do seem to forget that ultimately kids want to see this film, right? And it's also kids are off work, kids are off school, people are off work. They're with their kids across the festive season. It's not for us anymore, right? We're a very small part of that market that Disney is aiming towards. We are, regardless of what anyone says, we are. It's predominantly the next generation. So, you know, they will. It will make bank. Of course, it will.
That's a good point, but we're also seeing the first time in history where Star Wars is being challenged. Like, Sony's not being quiet about the fact they're challenging it with Jumanji. You know, I mean, and a few other studios are quietly challenging it too. So to me, that tells
can work
me
in the favor as well, can't it? You know,
but it tells me that the industry is seeing Star Wars as weak. Like, they smell blood in the water.
Yeah,
otherwise they wouldn't
we
be
knew
going
that from
anywhere
the
near it.
outlets that were
Right.
finally bloody turning on and going, doesn't look like directors actually want to work for Disney anymore because looks like a bit of a death sentence for your career. You can't just keep firing people. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well,
it's
I pointed out,
ludicrous.
Kathy's fired more people than she's hired simply because of the two brothers, or not.
And there's another one that's
Miller,
been gone now as well. There was a TV show that was under Marvel, and they've left. The two showrunners for that have gone. So it's just Disney overall.
Who were those? I don't remember hearing about that.
Tiagra. It was like an R-rated Marvel series or some crap like that. I was going to do a video on it, but I never got around to it. Been busy today.
Which series was this?
Tiagra, you said?
Yeah, it was. Let me have a look. But it was for a Marvel one, but it's still relevant because it's all under Disney, isn't it?
To a point, yeah. But Kevin Feige is more.
But there have been like changes behind the scenes because they basically shut down Marvel.
Yeah, but that's a bad indication.
And shifted it over to Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios.
Yeah, but that's a bad indication because if it's Tigra, and Dazzler animated series, which was supposed to be R-rated. But now, if Kevin Feige's come under and just gone, see you later, mate, forget about it, because it's completely been shelved, right? As a result of that, so showrunners Erica Rivinoja, butchered that, and her team, they completed multiple scripts outlined for others. We're 15 weeks into a planned 20-week production cycle, so they're well into it. It's gone. See you later, mate. And that's under Kevin Feige. So that's a bad sign, quite frankly.
That would have been planned under Marvel Television, and then it got to Feige, and he said, "No, I got my own stuff to do, so fuck this."
Yeah, but there's that micromanagement level of crap that we just keep seeing from Disney on a whole. Whether it's Feige or Lucasfilm or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's Disney as an umbrella.
We were saying, though, about China, though. I love one of the reasons why the Chinese didn't go see that. The Chinese actually themselves, they didn't like the Last Jedi or Star Wars movies. They didn't want to see ugly people in this movie. It's like, we want to see beautiful people like Angelina Jolie and Will Smith. We don't want to see these ugly nobodies. I'm like, I gotta give them that one. So
Captain Harris sent us another super chat, $5. So what's the over-under on Mandalorian getting decapitated by a lightsaber by the end? Well, there's no Jedi left other than Luke until he starts training some, so probably pretty good chance he won't. And then Aaron C. sent us a $10 super chat. There's a rumor that Asia gets Rise of Skywalker on December 10th. You all think that's legit? We'll see the leaks from that. Hopefully keep up the great work. I think what he's talking about, I think Japan.
Japan.
Getting it a little early?
1 week before in Japan, I think.
I don't think they're going to release it at all in English there. I guarantee you it'll all be dubbed versions.
Japanese,
so that if it leaks online, they can minimize any kind of problems. And the other reason is probably there's some kind of holiday or something, I imagine, going on there that they decided to do it that early.
Like Google Translate doesn't exist? I mean, come on.
That's very risky. I mean, if it's a trash fire, it doesn't matter what. It doesn't. No,
it is still very risky, and it's going to leak online.
We're going to get these full spoiler reviews, unless, of course, it's a different cut of the movie, though. I'm
just saying, I speak trash fire. It doesn't matter what language it is. I speak trash fire. I know what it looks like.
Yes. Basically, what I think is going to happen is that I think it's going to open huge, and it's going to collapse after that as word of mouth gets around. Just look at The Last Jedi. That opened in numbers that looked like it was going to go to 2 billion as well. It had that big an opening, and it peaked out at 1.3, more than 700 million less than The Force Awakens. I do not think that this movie is going to earn more than The Last Jedi. I think it's going to earn less. I think it'll make it to 1 billion, but only barely, and it might not.
Well, and that's the thing. Going into The Last Jedi, you still had the goodwill. Yeah, there was a faction of fans who, were not happy because the EU was gone. You had a faction of fans that didn't like The Force Awakens, but it wasn't to the near number that it was after The Last Jedi. Because Rob and I will attest to that. We walked out of that movie going, did we like that or not? What was this thing?
But we also heard of the greatest Star Wars movie since The Empire.
Yeah, the critics going into it were saying it was the bestest ever.
And we walked out like, this can't be the movie they were talking about. We were wondering, like, what was so great about this? Like, did we like it? I don't know.
Isn't it amazing? The what did you just say that the critics were saying? It was the best since what?
The greatest since Empire, the greatest Star Wars movie ever.
Isn't that a fantastic coincidence that the exact same critics were saying the exact same rhetoric towards Dark Fate, the best movie, the best Terminator movie
we've learned now.
Since Terminator Judgment Day. Fuck it, honestly, the cheat sheet that they get given for this stuff is just laughable now. Like, it's so predictable, it's unbelievable.
It's just like, wasn't there supposed to be an embargo on this movie? I've seen 3 reviews now of Rise of Skywalker.
They get so there are, having done press reviews, there are allowances. They will strategically, the marketing team behind studios will strategically tell certain critics with certain audiences to release a certain amount, whether it will be scripted or not, and they've got their talking points or not. But yeah, there's strategic points.
That's what I was kind of getting to. Yeah.
And they will have the punchlines in there. Like, for instance, they got the best since Terminator 2, the best since The Empire. It's going to be the same thing here. You're going to have like the same catchphrases that are going to be recurring in many of the reviews.
But we got one of the most damning reviews from Anthony Daniels, not to bring him up again, but have you seen that video yet, Andre?
Yeah, but they didn't. Yeah, of course I've seen it, but they didn't plan on that.
No, I know, but a good friend of the channel who we've had on After Dark, John Talks, he did an edit of it, and he cranked up the volume, and you can actually hear what Anthony Daniels says.
He
says after 40 years, this is it.
Yeah. I think that many people are going to say that. I think that's why I think that so many people are going to see it out of commitment and curiosity, and they're going to be utterly fuming, and they're going to utterly trash it, and it's going to struggle to reach 1 billion, and it might not. It might pull a complete Batman v Superman and utterly tank before it even gets to 1 billion.
Let's speculate on that real quick. What if, in a scenario in a world, this thing dumps off around 800 some million? Let's start with you, Tug. What do you think happens if that happens in a theoretical world?
If what happens? I'm sorry.
If the Rise of Skywalker does not manage to break 1 billion, what do you think happens?
I think we may see an acceleration of the inevitable. I mean, we already know that there's a replacement in the works, like we were talking about factioning and all of that. If we just, again, somebody's going to have to pay for it. At the end of the year, Disney's very good at if they have a down year, if something really, really underperforms, they're good at blaming people, and they're good at getting them out of there that year. So, I mean, like I said, acceleration of the inevitable.
They're not going to blame. Oh, sorry.
Well, go ahead, Rob. Yeah.
They're not going to blame KK because just the optics of blaming the most powerful woman in Hollywood, somebody will have to be fired.
Yeah, what they'll do is undercut people they already plan on getting rid of that may be, part of when they take her out inevitably, when they don't re-sign her to something or whatever, they're going to bring out a lot of other people too. They'll blame people, and there will be somebody fall hard, and like I said, it'll be somebody we already know is going out the door.
I can also promise they're going to blame a bunch of the fans. They're going to blame the fandom members and the toxic fans.
Oh, of course.
That's why JJ's bringing them up.
I
Mr.
revel
H-
in that, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
I can't believe we've gotten to that point.
Well,
where, you know,
we've already been on his radar, not to toot any horns, but we've ruffled enough feathers with Star Trek that we knew he knew who we were. We heard enough back. But so the fact that he dropped the Fandom Menace, I don't think was as big a surprise to Andre and Rob and I as it was to some. But I don't know. What did you have anything to say to that, real quick, Andre? Because you haven't really got a chance to comment on that other than your editorial, real quick.
Yeah, no, basically, before we give you your say, Mr. H, no, of course, we know that Bad Robot are very, very well aware of Midnight's Edge because we were their first meeting with the Fandom Menace, so to speak. At first, we were just like an annoyance. And then as we grew more and more in popularity and we got more and more views exposing their dirt in the public, including the contractual stuff that they absolutely want kept secret, we grew from an annoyance to a problem. And then the others came later on and started chiming in, adding to the same basic stories and the same kind of exposures. And that's a problem for them. And of course, first and foremost, they have destroyed Star Trek all on their own. That's not our fault. They can try to blame us, which of course some do behind the scenes, but it's their mismanagement that basically led to us just covering it. But because of that, I know from good experience that they absolutely hate us. And one of the reasons they hate us is because it's not just that we talk to people on the internet. Also, their investors, the people that aren't forking up the money that they need to actually make these movies, they're watching Midnight's Edge because they recognize
and Doomcock and Nerdrotic.
Yeah, and Doomcock and Nerdrotic. All of those, because they recognize the stuff that we're reporting as, yeah, this is exactly what's going on. And guys, you've even heard this when you were in Star Trek Las Vegas. Like, how many people involved?
Oh, tons. Well, and we had people that we can't say the name of, but one of the funniest stories I ever heard was there was a group of people, I think it was that Bad Robot, that got caught watching Doomcock.
That's funny. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people were stopping myself, Tom, and Mecca random. Like,
well, especially Mecca, because she's the most recognizable.
People
and
were
Gary too, and Gary finally showed up too. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
People were stopping all of us, taking. Can we have your picture? As if we were part of the convention, which was, I mean, it just shows you what the reach is. All over, from Europe, from Australia, from.
Let's put it this way: I expected Mecca to get recognized a couple times. She was getting recognized on an average of once every probably 15 minutes if we were out in public there. Like, it was weird.
It's actually amazing, like what the optic is just from any of this internet stuff. I mean, we went to a couple of conventions, for anime, and it was absolutely insane. There were voice actors that had nobody, and YouTubers. We get flooded with people. I thought, man, this is crazy.
Well, yeah, especially considering we only have a couple 100,000 subscribers on the main, or 100,000 just over on the main channel and stuff like that, and Nerd, between us all, we had a couple 100,000 subscribers, and it's just like, well, of course we're in the lion's den, so you're going to get more recognized there, but still at the same time, it's just strange.
And that's also what really annoys Bad Robot with just that's final thing before we let Mr. H continue. Basically, that they got nothing on us. They see that our channels, they just keep growing, our views get more and more, and there ain't nothing they can do to stop us. What they're used to with, like, traditionally with other Star Trek channels, they would have some kind of stake. They would be involved with a fan film or wanting to get into Star Trek production or something that they could either provide access or deny access in some kind of way to kind of like convince that the coverage should go in the right direction. But with us and Doomcock and Nerdrotic and Mecca, they got nothing. We have no stake. We have nothing that they can give us. We have nothing that they can take away. So they can't control us, or they can't even influence us. And that's what really, really annoyed them. So yeah, they're very well aware of us and everyone in the extended fandom menace. Well, of course, they're more aware of some. They're aware of the biggest ones. They're aware of, obviously, Geeks and Gamers. They're aware of Doomcock. They're aware of Nerdrotic. They're aware of world-class bullshitters. They're aware of us.
Obviously,
and
Mr. H. And I'm sure they're aware of Tug to an extent. And, of course, you're a little bit... You cover a little bit different stuff all the time, Tug. But, yeah, like... No, I'm sure you get recognized, like you said, at the anime conventions and stuff like that too. So it's
I think we get recognized with Disney. Period. You know, when you
they've let that be known. Yeah.
They went to the so far as to Disney didn't do, but you can follow the money. I mean, YouTube had to change the algorithm just to protect Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, we got shut off live.
And I'm not going to say who, but right now I'm talking with someone associated with Disney that wants to come to an interview with us, but he has to get clearance from it for that to happen. And he was kind of like that, yeah, I want to come, but I probably won't get the clearance because they're going to get a fit when I say that I want to do an interview with Midnight's Edge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, that was a huge thing, Mr. H.
Yeah,
let's get back on track.
What the fuck was the question?
I was just going to repeat it.
Remember the question.
The question was, what do you think happens if the movie doesn't make $1 billion? You actually kind of started with it, but yeah, go ahead and.
I mean, they'll fire someone. They'll just do what they were going to do anyway. I mean, they've stopped it now anyway. So they were always going to be stopping it. They're preemptively thinking that it's not going to do particularly well. They've admitted they're going to slow down on everything. You've got 2 people just left a trilogy, right? Benioff and Weiss. Ryan Johnson has come out and made some very vague comments about whether his trilogy is happening now or not. The most recent one sounds like it's actually not. I'm sure you guys have seen that video. So they're just going to do what they were doing anyway. They're preemptively planning for that. It's the writing's on the wall. It's very clear as day that they're doing that. So they won't change their plans. They'll fire someone inevitably. But this is Disney, right? The people that don't do bad PR. So they won't actually fire someone. You won't see them fire someone. We know we know that Kathleen Kennedy is being phased out anyway.
Oh yeah, she's already talking about her retirement in
exactly. She's supposed to be leaving around when is she supposed to be after Indiana Jones, so like 2022 or something like that. So they'll just continue with it. They'll phase it out and that'll be it. I don't see anything changing specifically that, there's nothing going to be massively earth-shattering if it underperforms from what we can see. We'll get a whole bunch of rumors and people will be like, I've got this leak and I've got this source and you need to call a plumber because there's so many fucking leaks happening. I get it. So, with the greatest of respect, some of the leaks are what I would consider to be complete BS. Logistically speaking, some of the stuff doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. Not if you hired all of the effects companies on the planet. Some of the leaks are nonsense. Just to put it out there, just for argument's sake, because people will be like, "What are you talking about?" The fact that they were reshooting 75% of the film—that's total nonsense. They physically can't do that. Production-wise, it doesn't make sense. You can say that they're reshooting 75% of a certain aspect of the film, but not 75% of the entire film. You can't do it with the time frames allowed. Not when the leak was released, anyway. If that leak came out a few months back, then yeah, sure, maybe, but not now. So, they're not going to change anything. They'll just be the same leaks that have been happening for a while, and it will just continue as it is. The thing is, and I think this is why a lot of people, going back to the reason why we're even talking here, we're talking about The Mandalorian, right? If that show does well and it continues to do well, even though it's very clearly one of the most pirated shows on the planet right now, if that does well, that's a really key indicator to Disney who they need to hire and what direction they need to go in. So
I
it's
think
really
they've already
important.
made that decision, but yeah.
Hey,
I said I think they already made that decision, but yeah.
yeah, but you know what I mean, though, right? Like, if
definitely.
that continues to do well and people continue to talk about it positively, then that will, that will be the direction that they head in, or at least whatever you take from that direction, but like the aesthetic, the people in charge of it, the writers' room, whatever.
Right.
It's very clear as day. They know that something is not working with the current trilogy, clearly, because the actions speak for themselves. So there you go. That's my answer.
All right. Rob, real quick.
Yeah, what was the question?
What happens next if the movie fails to make
Rise of Skywalker tanks? Yeah. Like I said,
hold on. I'm just going to interject here because I've been seeing some comments. One, some idiots in your chat room been calling me a shill. I'm not a shill. Fuck off. I've been saying that this movie is going to tank and is horrendous for multiple times. Slithering Peanut mouthing off at me saying that my comments about the 75% reshoots were complete BS. The fact that they did finish shooting on the 25th of November, unfortunately, my little boy, does not correlate to the leaks that they were remaking 75% of the entirety of the film. So don't sit there and say I'm not a shill, but I'm just clueless, because I'm fully aware of the context of what I'm discussing. Please shut the fuck up.
All right. Well, I think it's good. Well, with that said, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing. I think they're going to pull they'll probably pull a Scooby-Doo at first, when they rip off the mask of the villain. I wouldn't have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids, damn, I'll get you Midnight's Edge. And
I don't think they'll blame directly us, but the Phantom Menace, yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Where Star Wars are concerned, we're not their biggest annoyance.
Oh, no.
Star Trek.
You know what
Star Wars.
Like I said, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing. They'll try to blame the fans, toxic masculinity. You're just angry because Rey's a woman, and it'll be a lot of excuses. And if even just half of the things we've heard are true, this is going to be a raging dumpster fire.
Big old pile of poo. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to have nobody to blame but themselves. And try as they might, like I said, Star Wars, it's going to be unthinkable. They're going to destroy one of the biggest entertainment franchises in the world, and they're going to have nobody to blame themselves. Like, it doesn't mean they're not going to try to blame somebody. And like I said, it's you'll get the typical corporate speak. Well, okay, mistakes were made, decisions. We don't know what happened. All our tracking said blah blah blah. All our tracking said it was going to be a hit. Oh yeah, whose fault? It's Rey's fault. It's Billy's fault. Fire them.
I think what'll be interesting, just to add into what you're saying, based off of how I think it'll be really interesting how they address the negativity for this film, because Dark Fate is probably one of the most recent films that has just completely shit the bed. And the comments coming around from the producers and directors now, they're going at it with one another, and then they're still going, they're playing like the the idiot card of I don't know why it didn't do very well. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the Rise of Skywalker.
I think you're going to see radio silence for quite a while. I think they're going to let CBR and they're going to let Screen Rant and they're going to let all the other sites fight, and Inverse and Daily Dot and IndieWire. They're going to let them fight the battle for them. And then you're going to see radio silence on a part of Disney, and then somebody is gonna be the one to say, you know what, this was rotten to the core from the get-go.
Yeah, they're not going to, except they're never going to say it. They're just going to make the change. They're never going to admit that they have done wrong. They're just going to say, it didn't click with the audience. We don't know what happened. Yeah, sometimes it's like that. But here we got this thing coming. That's what they're going to do.
But I think it's going to take a couple years, but somebody is going to get thrown under the bus.
Well, they've already announced that they're going to let us know what the next trilogy is and who's directing it right after Rise of Skywalker comes out. So they already have a plan. That needs to be said. So we already know, we already have an idea what that plan's going to be. So I mean, Andre, what do you think is going to happen?
That plan may be subject to change, though. What I think is going to happen is, as Mr. H correctly pointed out, they already have the new regime in place. So Rise of Skywalker at this point is just a matter of damage limitation. They wanted to do as little damage as possible, but Star Wars on the big screen is done for the next few years. Right now, it's going to be up to Disney Plus and TV to rebuild the Star Wars brand. How successful it will be, well, that depends or remains to be seen. I think between the Mandalorian and the Obi-Wan series is going to be fine. The big question, though, is how long is the hiatus going to be? Right now, it's like a 2-year, 3-year hiatus or something like that until the next trilogy is supposed to begin.
I think it's 2022, isn't it? When the first one's supposed to be out?
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, it's not a hiatus to speak of. That's like a very normal production cycle between sequels. I mean, you had like a longer production time between Star Trek 09 and Star Trek Into Darkness, which was 4 years. There was no hiatus there. They were just bumbling for 2 years, and then they rushed it like there was no tomorrow. The other.
Oh, it's JJ. I know it's JJ. I've noticed this because we brought this up the other night on the show, right, Rob? Remember I said in the time that because JJ got signed on for the Rise of Skywalker just before The Last Jedi came out. In the time that he's had to work on this movie and finish it, we've gotten one whole season. It's been, the Mandalorian was conceived, filmed. We've gotten one whole season, and they're already working on the second season. Okay, this man doesn't have a sense of time. And I know what you were saying before, Mr. H. No, it's not possible to reshoot 75% of the movie, but there was confirmation from Kathleen Kennedy. That they were still shooting in October when we had first reported it, and then JJ said, well, he just finished last Sunday or whatever it was, a week ago Sunday, filming the movie or whatever it was.
Yeah,
that was reshoots, yes. But the other thing that we heard from one of our sources is one of the only reasons we went with the whole they're still shooting thing is the source that told us was telling us that they were using the same technology and cameras they were using for Mandalorian to shoot Rise of Skywalker. They were bragging about it, not realizing they were telling us that they were still shooting.
And might add that this one source is one that we know personally and is super freaking reliable.
Right. And the thing with that is this technology allows you to see and render special effects quicker in real time and stuff like that. So that's a very big possibility that large bits were being reshot. But again, I agree, not 75%, but we know there was a bunch of different endings. I know just from certain things I've read from interviews and stuff like that, they had X amount of script changes during the movie itself. So it's nothing but a
clarify the 75% bit in a video. It was never 75% of one video. It was like different iterations and 20% reshoots there, another 20 there, another 20 there for different iterations, and not over just like 1 month, but ever since summer.
Yeah, so that's the fine. The 75% thing was reported in October, which with the release date being December, it's not going to happen.
No,
but also further to what you were saying about JJ being the reason why it's so delayed.
Months already.
But I was going to say, let's put it this way: when they were supposed to start doing reshoots in May or June, they have not stopped. Yeah. That was the whole thing. It's like their reshoot schedule has almost been as long or longer than their actual shooting schedule at this point, is what I heard.
But anyway, again, so go back to what you were saying about JJ being one of the reasons why this movie is so delayed and so slow and things like that. Absolutely is him. But he's also been furthering his own career outside of Disney, hasn't he? Remember, he's landed an insane deal with Warner Brothers. So he would have been courting that for a very long time.
Oh, he was
having major meetings.
He's still trying to get something going over at Star Trek.
That's what that so do you see what I mean? Like for him, I'm very much certain Disney and Lucasfilm are actually not important to him right now. I don't think he sees it as massively important because he's got his own production company. He does his own movies, and he's getting massive, insane deals with other studios, right? So I think you're right. Like, I think he absolutely delayed it, and I think it's quite, it's very clear as day he did delay it, because he was doing, things outside of, outside of the current contract that he was in.
Right.
So,
well, speaking of babies like Yoda, unfortunately, that Umbrella guy had to sneak out. He's having issues with his child, so we want to thank him so much for joining us today. Do check out his channel if you haven't already. Hopefully, we'll have him back again soon. We understand. Most of us have kids here, so we understand, and that happens, man. So we appreciate you stopping by. So. We've been trying to get him on here for a while, so I'm glad he found the time to make it today. And again, of course, we want to thank Mr. H as well. Not that we're ending the show right now, but just since I'm thanking people for showing up. And Rob, thanks for being here on time for once. Speaking of which, think this is the first one you made on time.
Yes, it is. A tradition we hope that keeps going.
Guys, when have we ever made it on time? When have we ever started a live show when it wasn't?
Well, you and I have been here on time for the most part. Today I was later than normal, but
didn't I come to the first one super late?
No, you showed up on time.
I came to what did I come to?
What was the second one? I think you didn't, and then the third one you didn't make it to at all. And then today you were just a little late.
There was one roundtable. That was the Rambo one. I turned up like an hour late, I think.
Yeah, but I think that was a miscommunication, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
But it doesn't matter. He showed up. That's
no, I'm not. I'm just giving people shit.
Yeah,
especially Rob. I give Rob shit whenever I can. So,
speaking of giving shit, someone gave us something that's absolutely not shit. Namely,
yes, we got a couple of those to get through.
Some of those before we get back to where we. The
last one we left off on was James. $2.
Yeah, James, $2. Thank you so much. Said my nieces and nephews don't care about Star Wars.
Oh yeah, we did a whole couple videos about that.
Yeah, we did. All the cool kids are into Marvel now. Austin Trench sent us $1.99 super chat saying, "Supreme, stunning, and brave Master Jedi Ma Rey Sue." Yay, go her. We'll get loads of her in Rise of Skywalker.
Well, we're getting all those inevitable, and they're not even waiting for the movie to come out now, aren't they, Rob? We're getting all kinds of these articles with, Rey's not a Mary Sue, Luke's a Mary Sue. It's like, no. Stop a minute. Luke used the Force a total of like 1.5 times in the first movie. Could barely lift a fucking rock in the second one. Yoda told him if you leave, you're gonna get your ass kicked, and he didn't really use the Force until the fourth movie. At the end of the second one, and then in the third movie. I mean, so that's what I meant. Sorry.
Exactly.
And then moving on.
Ray trained herself. That means she's not a Mary Sue. I'm like, yeah, I mean she is.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. Aaron C sent us a $2 super chat saying, "You saying investors care about honesty?" Yeah, they absolutely care about honesty. They want the people they invest in to be honest to them. And if you're referring to Bad Robot and how the investors tended to listen to Midnight's Edge, which we have on good authority, although we cannot share it, that they did. That's because they were sold one bill of rights about how popular the series was and yada, 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 and there was very little to back that up, which is something that we pointed out. So yeah, their investors did care about honesty, and that is part of the reason why there's no Star Trek 4 yet. And yeah, I know it's been announced one, but they still have to get the funding, and they haven't got it yet, which is why you have a Star Trek 4 announcement that basically says the cast are expected to return, meaning they're not signed on because they haven't got the money for it. Now, with that said,
Mr. H, before we go to the next one, Mr. H also had to leave, so do check out Mr. H's channel, and we hope to have him on the next episode as well. And
well, sorry
same thing with Tug and anybody else.
But it's a pleasure to have him on as always.
Yeah, well, we've gone a little bit longer than we expected to, but still.
Yeah.
But we're going to get to all these super chats, so don't worry, folks.
Yeah, we're doing that right now in this moment. Austin Trench sent us $1.99 super chat saying, "Will the Ultraman movie be made when Kathleen is out?" Guys, I don't know first thing about Ultraman. Pass.
Neither do we. Yeah, we were asked something about that before, and I was like, I have no idea. I think you know a little bit about the character, Rob, and that was it.
Yeah, it's a Japanese character. He fights kaiju's, and it's a lot of fun if you ever see him. But I have no idea if it's going to get made. I really don't.
I neither know nor care.
I'm sure there are fellow YouTubers though that may have more of a take on that. So we do apologize.
Oh yeah, too bad we just missed Mr. H because he sent
probably would, yeah.
Zilla, so he probably wouldn't. He would know that. So go check out his channel. Maybe he said something about it. I sure haven't, and I'm not going to before the for the post-mortem when it inevitably fails.
Sorry, we couldn't really add more to that than that. But yeah. What's next?
Max Santiago sent us $2 super chat saying chances of a Star Wars reboot. What do you think, guys? Star Wars reboot?
That keeps being brought up. I don't see the sense in it, at least not for the next at least good 20, 30 years. I mean, yeah, Disney has this thing now where they're remaking stuff left and right, but the reason Bob Iger wanted to buy Star Wars for the same reason he wanted to get his hands on Marvel was the iconic characters, and the legacy characters are there for a reason, and people still buy those figures and t-shirts and posters and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think they're blind to the fact that people love Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and C-3PO and R2-D2 and Princess Leia and so on and so forth down the line. And yeah, they did a Solo movie, and look how that turned out. I don't think they're going to recast and try to do any kind of reboots. Now, animated, that's a different story. They've already done that, and with the little, whatchamacallit, cartoons, Rob. You were said the name of it earlier, too.
Galaxies of Adventure. Galaxies of Adventure.
That's just lame. Just lame and revisionist history, so... yeah, go figure on that. But I don't know, Andre, what do you think?
I don't think that it's gonna be any kind of remake. No.
Rob?
No, I don't think they're gonna remake. Yeah, it wouldn't put it past them to try though. And then
I don't think they can. I mean, Lucas probably had a lot of little stipulations when he sold it, and I'm sure he has some say over the original films and stuff still. And I just don't see it happening. Anyway, what is next on the agenda?
Next on the agenda, or next on the list of super chats, rather, is, shall we see, Scravage sent us a $2.99 super chat saying, "Whoa, amazing panel. Hope to see more Mr. H and Tug. I'm sure you will. Check back next Friday, because I think that's probably going to be the next time when we have Mr. H on."
Yeah, we of course want to thank our guests today for showing up. We appreciate that. And does that catch us up on super chats? I think.
No,
I think it did.
I'm just going to do a quick check to see if there's anything we missed. I don't think we did. I think that is all. Let's just see if there's some here that.
Because I think Scravage was the last one before this newest one.
Yeah. Double T sent us a $2 super chat saying it's very Firefly-esque in terms of being.
Okay, we did miss that one.
Yeah, we missed that one. Yeah, well, yeah, I agree completely. It is very Firefly-esque. So thanks for that, Double T. Let's see if we missed anything else.
Good catch.
Oh yeah, the DCV Titan sent us $1 Canadian super chat saying, "Anybody point out that Mandalorians know the way?"
No, we haven't yet.
No, we haven't. You just did, so I think we're covered.
I say if we start making that joke, we might get accused of being racist or something. So yeah, does that catch us up on all the ones that we missed? Hopefully we didn't miss any more.
Still
okay.
Checking.
While you're doing that, I'll do this one here real quick. Kendall Navstar sent us another $5. Due to his voice, we of the Black delegation choose Mr. H, our 2020 draft pick.
I fucking love that. That's a brilliant reference. Awesome. Massive kudos.
Yeah. Hopefully he's listening, so he heard that. But,
I get that. I get that one.
Oh, that's one of my favorite sketches of all time, by the way. Absolutely love it.
Black delegation. Choose Mr. H. So
I like that one, yeah.
Fantastic. It's fantastic.
Did we miss any more than Andre, or did you
Oh,
get distracted?
no, I think that we are all caught up, not cut up, but all.
Oh, we're caught up.
Then, yeah. Well, it's not my fault that your language is so goddamn difficult.
I know. What's worse is I feel bad when I have to like try and correct you because I can't speak it that well anyway. So.
Well, at least you're a native speaker. More than I got going for me.
Yeah, and you still speak better English than Rob and I do. So.
Yeah, well, I think opinions are divided on the subject.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I would like to thank everyone who joined us. It's always a pleasure when you come and take time out of your day and your evening to wherever it is to just hang with us while we chat about Star Wars and basically everything else. And cool question here, Max Mercer. How many hours of night does Norway have this time of year? Just have to address that real quick. That actually depends on where in Norway you are. North of the polar circle, they have right about 24 hours of night right now. Whereas in Oslo, where I am, we have, let's see, how many hours of daylight? Sun comes up at maybe, I don't know, 9, 10. It's down by 3 in the afternoon. Oh, we have like maybe 6, 7 hours of daylight right now. So yeah, which is all good. I don't mind. And where was I? I lost my own train of thought there. Oh yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. And it's just 2 weeks now till we get to enjoy, or at least despair over, the Frankensteinian mess that Rise of Skywalker is destined to be. And also, remember to join Tom and Rob over at Midnight's Edge after dark in just 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
Yep,
right?
I just threw the ad. I just threw the link in the chat.
Yeah,
there.
I saw. I just felt I should point it out.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, to remind people, yes, there's 2 different channels, but yeah, you can catch Rob, Mecca, and I, and a whole host of other people who pop in a couple times a week on Midnight's Edge after dark, and Rob does rants, and we do all kinds of other fun stuff over there. So do check us out over there if you have the time. We'd appreciate it. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
So we have enough time to go to the bathroom, Rob.
You go to the bathroom, get a little something to eat, you get a little nosh, and
you do that, and we're not going to start till 6:30. But anyway.
All right. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Oh yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Should we cue the outro music?
Yes, let's
sure.
do. We want to thank everybody for joining us, of course.
And we'll catch you next time.
Oh, I do remind everybody, we do have a P.O. box now. I'll throw that in the chat.
Yes, you can send us stuff.